Greetings and welcome. We are in Senior English B, and our job now is to comment briefly on the poetry of the great William Blake. Let's put it in our notes, Generation 1 poet. When we talk about these romantics, there's two generations, and Blake falls into that first generation with Wordsworth and with Coleridge. Blake is very interested in making us see the world a different way. Put that in your notes. He wants us to think about two sides of the world. There is the side of light, and there is the side of dark. There is the side of joy, and there is the side of pain. There is the side of innocence, and there is the side of experience. Blake wants us to see that the world involves both sides. The animal kingdom has its lambs, but it also has its tigers. Right? You gotta have both. For Blake, that's what makes the world so important for us. Nature teaches us, reminds us, you gotta have both sides of the equation. Okay? He will publish 2 books of poems. The first he calls Songs of Innocence. In these poems, he will celebrate the good, the light, the joy. Okay? Then in the second book, Songs of Experience, he will celebrate sometimes the darker side, okay? The dangerous side, the painful side. Okay? The classic example of how 2 poems from these 2 different books are juxtaposed, set side by side, is on the one hand the lamb, and on the other hand the tiger. So we want to look now at these 2 poems in your notes, and we want to ask a simple question. When you look at the lamb and the tiger, what do they represent or symbolize from the world? Okay. Let me ask this another way. Do you think at Worland High School there are some people who are more like a lamb and some people who are more like a tiger? Okay. And how would you think about those kinds of people differently? Okay, that's one way to ask this question. A second way to ask the question. You're seniors. To some degree, you're a whole lot different than you were 4 years ago, 3 years ago for sure, when you started high school. Right? You're different in some ways. But now my question to you is this. How have you changed? We know you've changed physically because we have to grow. You don't got a choice on that. Someday you get to grow up and be an old fart like Mr. McGee. We know physically you change. But now we're not asking so much physically how you've changed. And of course, that's the funny thing about yearbooks, huh? You can look at your yearbook picture from your freshman year and go, that was me? Geez, what was up with my hair back there? Whatever. That's physical change. We're not asking about physical change now, though. We're asking about a mental change. Your attitude. The way you see the world. Are you willing to say, when I was a freshman, I was kind of more like the lamb. Now that I'm a senior, I'm a little bit more like a tiger. I see the world differently. When I look as a senior at freshmen, I kind of see them in some ways as kind of like little lambs. They're kind of like a little bit lost. They're not totally sure what they're doing or where they are. Seniors kind of know stuff freshmen don't know. Classic example. Now, how does Blake pull this off? Well, first of all, he portrays a lamb. Couple of notes. He portrays the lamb as childlike, naive. We might even just come right out and say, bloody stupid. Lambs don't have a clue wolves exist. I'll say that again. Lambs don't have a clue wolves exist. Okay? Tigers, on the other hand, they like lambs. Not they like lambs because they want to be friends with them, but what? They like lambs because why? Yeah, they like lambs because they can use them in some way. Okay? Now, let's point out something Blake points out. These two animals are born the way they're born. The lamb doesn't choose to be stupid or naive. And a tiger is just what a tiger is. It's a predator from the time it's born. Blake's question is more interesting, though, and I want to now turn to the tiger on 749. First of all, the 4 lines we're going to commit to memory. Let's read them together again. Tiger, tiger, burning bright in the forest. Whoa, whoa, whoa. What do you mean burning? Is he saying that the tiger is on fire? No. Write down in your notes, what does it mean to say he's burning bright? What does that mean? He's showing what? Blake is showing what part of the tiger? His coloring. Yes, his coloring. What color is the tiger?
Orange.
He's the color of fire. Right? Black and orange. Fire. Tiger, tiger, burning bright in the forests of the night. What's up with the night? What do we know about tigers and the nocturnal activity? They love to hunt at night. Why? It's easy. They're totally camouflaged. You can't see them. You can't hear them. And for any of you that have tried to pick up a little tiny kitty cat that does not want picked up with those little claws and stuff, just kind of multiply that 100 times and imagine a cat that weighs 500 pounds. Right? I mean, the tiger has the power of a little tiny cat times a whole bunch, and he's just as fast, if not faster. Right? Notice, what, and here's the question, what immortal hand or eye could frame thy fearful symmetry? What is the question that he asks at the beginning of this poem? Who would make such a killing machine as a tiger? In the animal kingdom, of course, we're familiar with 2 species or 2 animals that are seriously deadly. One, of course, we know is the tiger. The other is the great white, the killer shark, right? Those 2 species, those 2 animals, they kill without any conscience of any kind. They just are born to kill. And the question is, who would create such a monster as a tiger? Look at the second stanza. In what distance deeps or skies burnt the fire of thine eyes? He looks at the tiger's what? The eye of a tiger. If you've never looked at the eye of a tiger, it's kind of freaky, right? Doesn't look like he has much compassion. Look at the next one. On what wings dare he aspire? What the hand dare seize the fire? Whoever tried to create a tiger, it's like he reached into the fire and tried to grab hold of fire. A tiger. What is being pointed out here about the tiger? What about the tiger in the second stanza? This thing about the fire within him. What is a tiger really good at? Killing things. You bet. He's a #1 predator. He can kill pretty much anything. There are stories of tigers taking down elephants, killing them in the jungles of Sumatra and elsewhere.
Seriously?
Yeah, they can kill elephants. Of course, they have tremendous power in their claws, and you put 2 or 3 of them together, they can about take down anything. Yeah. Look at the third stanza. And what shoulder and what art could twist the sinews of thy heart, and when thy heart began to beat, what dread hand and what dread feet? What does the word dread mean?
Fear.
Fear. You're afraid. In other words, a tiger instills fear in people. People are afraid of these animals.
It also says what art means.
Yes.
Pretty.
And tigers are they're really smart. They are amazing hunters. They're hard to catch. You can put traps for tigers and they'll figure you out and they know how to go around your trap. Happens all the time. Tiger catchers have said this for years. It's almost like they know what language you're speaking. They can figure stuff out. They're really smart. They have amazing senses. They can smell you from a long ways away. They can really see you from a long ways away. They're really smart animals. They're art. What the hammer? What the chain? In what furnace was thy brain? It's like his brain is on fire. What the anvil? What dread grasp? Dare its deadly terrors clasp? In other words, notice you've got a vicious killer. He will grab hold of anything and kill it. No conscience. Doesn't bother him at all. When the stars threw down their spears and watered heaven with their tears, did he smile his work to see? Did he who make the lamb make thee? Tiger, tiger, burning bright in the forests of the night. Now, the question of this poem is an interesting one, and it's one for your notes. The lamb, we get it. Oh, they're so cute and cuddly and kind of dumb and naive and all that. But a tiger? What is the value of a tiger? Why would a tiger exist in the same world a lamb would exist? That is an intriguing question. Is there any value in the tiger? The lamb, we know, kind of cute, and in the end you can even eat it. Tigers, though, what's a tiger for?
To keep everything in check.
Rothblutner says tigers play a special role in the universe. They keep nature balanced and in check. How come? What do?
They eat what when it gets
They literally eat things. Of course, tigers are like other cats and animals at the top of the food chain. Tigers instill fear. Worry, worry, worry. Why is fear sometimes a good thing?
Because it motivates you
To do what?
to do what you need to do.
To do what you need to do, to be aware, to be careful. Now, in the world, we can argue there are two kinds of people. Blake liked this kind of analogy. Two kinds of people. Let's say it not the world. Let's say it Whirl and High. Let's say at Whirl and High there are two kinds of people. They're lambs and they're tigers. What do I mean by that? Jot down in your notes. What do I mean by that? What would a person at Whirl and High School who's kind of like a lamb be like? What would be that kind of person? Jot down a couple of things. Shy, maybe.
Easily influenced.
Easily influenced. I want to be just like everybody else because I don't want anybody to make fun of me because then that would be bad and everybody would make fun of me and I feel bad and so I'm going to be just like everybody else. What else? What else?
Stupid.
Maybe a little bit naive or stupid. No. This is great. Come on. This is what we do. Come on. This will be great. Really? Yeah. It'll be fine. Come on. Right? A little bit naive. A little bit unable to kind of figure stuff out. Doesn't know when someone's being mean or not. Or might be mean. What about the whole thing of believing? What about lambs? Do they believe or are they skeptical? They always believe, don't they? Right? They don't have any skepticism. They're just like, whatever you tell me, I'm going to believe it. Right? Okay, what about tiger? Jot that one down. At Whirland High School, the students that are like tigers, what are they like? Mean. Keep going. They what? They're confident, aren't they? Yeah, they're confident. They can be mean. They're confident. What else? What else would you say about them? They know how to use people, don't they? They can figure stuff out really fast and how to use people and how to get their way. They know what to do to get their way. What else would you say about tigers? They might physically sometimes be big, yeah, right? Or at least they can instill fear in people even if they're not big, right?
Well, big can mean a few different things. They can be big personalities.
Yeah, big personalities. They don't have to be big physically, do they, right? Good. What else?
Experience.
They have experience. They've jacked people before, right? Yeah. What about conscience?
Not a lot.
They got no conscience. They do what they want to do to get what they want. Right? Somebody's got to get jacked in the jungle. It's going to be the lambs. And who's going to do it? It's going to be the tigers. It's going to be the tigers. Now, I'm going to ask us a couple of questions I want you to jot down answers to. These are 3B answers because they're your opinion. They're your opinion. Question. Are people born lambs or tigers the way you're born with the color of your eyes? I'll ask it again. Are people born Lambs or tigers? We're talking about types of people, right? Are those people born that way? The way the color of your eyes was just given to you. You didn't choose the color of your eyes, right? Are people born to be either lambs or tigers, or do they choose it at some point?
I think they're born to choose it. Otherwise,
Explain.
well, some people are just naturally go.
You're saying that if a student at Worland High School discovered that she was a lamb, she could change to become a tiger.
Yeah.
Can it go the other way?
Yeah.
Yes.
Can a person who's been a tiger decide to become a lamb?
Not fully, I don't think.
I wouldn't want to.
Yes.
Can a person who knows things unknow those things?
Oh, no.
Short says, wait a minute, this is an interesting question. You can go in one direction from being a lamb to a tiger, but it's impossible to go back because you can't unlearn what you already know about people and about situations. You can't really go back to being a lamb if you're a tiger, right? You can't really return. 3B question. Write down the answer. 3B question. Do you think of yourself as more of a lamb or more of a tiger? Don't say it writing. Do you think of yourself as more of a lamb or more of a tiger?
Is that what you want?
You're writing at 3B. What do you think of yourself as? Do you think of yourself as more of a lamb or more of a tiger? And what were you in your freshman year? What were you 3 years ago? How have you kind of changed a little bit? Have you changed? Or were you the same kind of lamb-tiger thing you were in freshman year? Let's go to 751 really quickly. Blake's going to write a poem about the children who are chimney sweepers. Now let me explain this to you. This poem won't make any sense to you. In England of Blake's day, roughly 1800, the way they heat things is through fire, burning coal. That coal has to exhaust up through a chimney. Got me? But here's the problem. You ready for this? And some of you already know this because you've messed around with coal before. After a while, the chimneys, the coal smoke builds up and it gets thick. Then it's dangerous. You can catch on fire and it can explode and burn down the house. So, you have to clean the chimney. But the problem is that the chimney's not very big. How to clean a really tall chimney? The answer, you got to make kids do it. Yes, you have to make children do it because they're small. Because they're small. And they climb, are you ready for this? They climb up inside the chimney when the fire's not going. Up inside the chimney, and then they have to scrub that junk off. But the problem is, how are you going to get them up there? You only got one or two ways to get them up there. One, you drop them from on top with a rope and you do it that way. The other way is they crawl up. Many of the chimneys had a smaller opening at the top, which meant you couldn't drop them down. That meant the only way was to take them up. Kids learned how to brace themselves against the chimney and walk up inside the chimney. And then once they got to the top, they'd start cleaning to come down. Of course, two things. One, breathing coal is terrible for your lungs. You die if you breathe a lot of it. Two, up high, you fall. And lots of children would fall doing this job. In the 1800s, there are no laws about child labor. None. So you can take small children from orphanages and make them do this work. That's what was happening. Blake was really saddened by that. He wrote this poem. Let's read it together. It's called The Chimney Sweeper. This poem will make some of you sad now that you know what I just explained. When my mother died, I was very young, and my father sold me, while yet my tongue could scarcely cry, weep, 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 weep. So your chimneys I sweep, and in soot I sleep. There's little Tom Darcer, who's cried when his head that curled like lamb's back was shaved. So I said, hush, Tom, never mind it. For when your head's bare, you know that the soot cannot spoil your white hair. And so he was quiet. And that very night, as Tom was asleeping, he had such a sight that thousands of sweepers, Dick and Joe, Ned and Jack, were all of them locked up in coffins of black. And by came an angel who had a bright key, and he opened the coffins and set them all free. Then down a great plain, leaping, laughing, they ran and washed in a river and shine in the sun. Then naked and white, all their bags left behind, they rise upon clouds and sport in the wind. And the angel told Tom if he'd be a good boy, he'd have God for his father and never want joy. And so Tom woke, and we rose in the dark, and got with our bags and our brushes to work. Through the morning, though the morning was cold, Tom was happy and warm. So if all do their duty, they need not fear harm. What an interesting little poem. Tells us a little bit about the terrible plight of young children. Look at Infant Sorrow, a poem from Songs of Experience. My mother ground, my father wept. Into the dangerous world I leapt, helpless, naked, piping loud like a fiend hid in a cloud, struggling in my father's hands, striving against my swaddling bands, bound and weary, I thought best to sulk upon my mother's breast. Notice what he does in this poem. Instead of celebrating a newborn infant as being a thing of joy,
He's like, oh.
he
no.
pictures a newborn infant as bound for joy or pain. Lots of pain that's coming, right? Lots of pain that's coming. All right, so there you go, an introduction to the poetry of Blake.